In the vast emptiness of space, where time stretches beyond human comprehension, existed a being of unimaginable power, Aeloria. An ancient star titan, had lived for trillions of years, wandering the cosmos with indifferent malevolence. Her form defied simple description, a colossal entity comprised of dark matter and stellar energy, with tendrils of cosmic power that could envelop entire solar systems. Her consciousness spanned galaxies, and her thoughts moved at the speed of light across the neural network of her vast, nebulous body. For countless eons, Aeloria had amused herself with a simple pastime, crushing galaxies. She would approach a spiral arm of stars, home to billions of lives and countless civilizations, and with casual indifference, she would compress it until the pressure ignited a chain of supernovas. The resulting explosion would ripple across her consciousness like pleasant tingles, a momentary distraction from the endless void of her existence. This was the galactic era, a time when thousands of independent galaxies existed in relative isolation, when travel between them was still considered impossible by most life forms. It was an era of expansion and discovery for many civilizations, unaware that their growth was merely setting the stage for Aeloria's entertainment. Her most recent target was the Oros Galaxy, a small stellar kingdom on the outer rim of what would someday be known as the Cosmic Void. Oros was unique in its beauty, with spiraling arms of emerald nebulae and sapphire star clusters. Its core pulsed with the gentle rhythm of a galactic heartbeat, the combined energy of trillions of living beings resonating in harmony. Aeloria approached Oros with the casual interest of a child selecting a toy to break. She extended her vast form, preparing to initiate a supernova collision that would tear through the galaxy's heart. As always, she felt nothing for the countless lives that would be extinguished. They were insignificant specks, fleeting moments of consciousness that barely registered in her ancient mind. Another collection of dust to scatter, she thought, her mental voice echoing across the void. Her consciousness condensed into a focused point of devastating energy, ready to pierce the heart of Oros. The initial impact was satisfying, a brilliant explosion of light and energy that sent shockwaves through the galactic plane. Aeloria felt the familiar pleasure of destruction wash over her vast consciousness. But as the chaos unfolded, something unexpected happened. From the center of the devastation, a strange light emerged, not the chaotic flash of dying stars, but a steady, purposeful beam that cut through the debris. It was small, almost imperceptible against the backdrop of cosmic destruction. But it caught Aeloria's attention precisely because of its defiance. This light seemed to push back against her power, maintaining its integrity even as space itself warped around it. Aeloria paused, her consciousness focusing on this anomaly. In all her eons of existence, she had never encountered resistance. Planets might survive her initial assault, stars might take longer to collapse, but nothing had ever pushed back. This light, this counter-spirit as she would later learn to call it, pierced through the rubble of the dying galaxy with determined precision. It moved with purpose, as if searching for something or someone. For the first time in countless millennia, curiosity stirred within Aeloria's vast mind. This feeling was so foreign, so unexpected, that she momentarily forgot her destructive intent. Instead of continuing her assault on Oros, she shifted her focus to follow this strange manifestation of light. "What are you?" She projected her thought toward the light, not expecting an answer. No lesser being had ever been able to comprehend her cosmic thoughts, let alone respond to them. Yet the light flickered in a pattern that suggested awareness. It seemed to acknowledge her presence before darting away, leaving the dying galaxy behind. Aeloria hesitated. Her usual pattern would be to finish what she had started, to completely obliterate Oros until nothing remained but scattered radiation. But the mysterious light beckoned, offering something she hadn't experienced in eons: novelty. With a thought, she abandoned her destruction of Oros, leaving the galaxy wounded but not completely destroyed. The remaining civilizations would later mark this as the miracle of partial salvation, never understanding why the cosmic destroyer had suddenly departed. Eloria pursued the light across the void between galaxies, her vast form contracting to increase her speed. The light maintained its distance, always just beyond her reach, leading her through regions of space she had previously ignored. Their chase led them to a galaxy Eloria had destroyed centuries earlier, now just a scattered field of stellar remnants and cosmic dust. Yet among the ruins, structures had begun to form, new stars coalescing from the debris, planetary systems taking shape from the ashes of the old. The light descended toward one such system, a collection of 7 planets orbiting a young blue star. On the third planet, a civilization had begun to emerge from the ruins of its predecessors. Tall crystal spires reached toward the stars, constructed by beings who had evolved in the aftermath of cosmic destruction. As Eloria approached this system, the light finally paused, hovering above the crystal city. It pulsed in a complex rhythm, and Eloria sensed it was communicating with the beings below. Curious, she slowed her approach, condensing her vast form to avoid immediately destroying the fragile system. She observed as a group of beings emerged from the central spire, tall, luminescent entities with bodies that seemed to phase between solid matter and pure energy. One of them stepped forward, its form solidifying into a more distinct shape. Unlike its companions, this being appeared almost completely physical, with features that suggested great age and wisdom. It wore elaborate robes that shifted colors with each movement, and a circlet of pulsing light adorned its head. "I am the Luminarch of the Resurgent." The being spoke, its voice somehow carrying across the vacuum of space to reach Eloria's consciousness. "We have been waiting for you, destroyer of worlds." Eloria's surprise manifested as a ripple of energy that caused the nearby planets to shudder in their orbits. Never had a lesser being addressed her directly, let alone claimed to have anticipated her arrival. "How do you know me?" she projected, her thoughts carefully modulated to avoid overwhelming the Luminarch's mind. "We know you through the memories of those you have destroyed," the Luminarch replied, "and through the guidance of the counter-spirit that has led you here." The light, the counter-spirit, pulsed in agreement, moving to hover beside the Luminarch. "This entity you have been following is not a single being, but a collective consciousness, the combined essence of countless souls who perished in your wake. They have maintained their unity through sheer will, driven by a purpose even I do not fully comprehend." Eloria's consciousness recoiled slightly. The concept that the tiny lives she had extinguished could persist in any form was disturbing. It suggested a resilience she had never considered possible. "Why has it led me here?" she demanded, a hint of her destructive power leaking into her communication, causing several of the crystal spires to crack. The Luminarch remained steady, seemingly unaffected by her display of power. "Because you need to understand what you have been destroying. The counter-spirit believes that even you, Ancient One, can change. It has sensed something in you that perhaps you yourself do not recognize." "I destroy because it amuses me," Eloria stated flatly. "There is nothing more to understand." "Then why did you follow the light?" the Luminarch asked. "Why did you spare Oros from complete destruction? Why are you here now, conversing with beings you would normally consider beneath your notice?" These questions stirred uncomfortable sensations within Eloria's vast consciousness. She had no immediate answers, and the absence of certainty was novel and disturbing. "The counter-spirit has been gathering strength for millennia," the Luminarch continued. "It is the balance to your destructive force, a collective will capable of countering even your power, but it does not seek to destroy you. It seeks to transform you." Eloria's first instinct was to obliterate this presumptuous civilization and the counter-spirit with it. She began to gather her destructive energy, the space around her darkening as she pulled in all available light. The counter-spirit did not retreat. Instead, it expanded, forming a protective barrier around the crystal city and its inhabitants. Within this shield, the Luminarch continued to speak, unperturbed by the impending destruction. "Before you act, Eloria, I offer you knowledge. There are memory sanctuaries scattered throughout the galaxies you have visited, repositories of the civilizations you have destroyed. The counter-spirit can guide you to them. See what you have undone before you decide to continue your path of destruction. Aloria hesitated, her gathered power held in check by her renewed curiosity. The offer of knowledge, of something unknown to her despite her ancient existence, was tempting. Why should I care about what I have destroyed? She asked. But there was less conviction in her mental voice. Because you are experiencing emptiness. The Luminarch replied simply. Because destruction no longer satisfies you as it once did. Because you followed a light across the void when you could have continued your rampage. You are changing, Aloria. Whether you acknowledge it or not. Aloria's consciousness rippled with conflicting impulses. The Luminarch's words had struck uncomfortably close to truth. Her endless cycle of destruction had become routine, providing less satisfaction with each galaxy crushed. The momentary distraction of the counter-spirit had been the most engaging experience she had had in eons. Slowly, she dissipated her gathered destructive energy, the darkness around her receding. Show me these memory sanctuaries, she commanded, though her mental tone lacked its usual imperious nature. The counter-spirit pulsed with what seemed like satisfaction, then divided itself into two entities. One remained with the Crystal City, maintaining the protective barrier. The other approached Aloria, its light gentle but insistent. I will accompany you, the Luminarch stated, stepping forward. The sanctuaries respond to physical presence, and I can help interpret what you will see. Aloria allowed this arrangement, though the idea of traveling with lesser beings was foreign to her. The Luminarch entered a crystalline vessel that rose from the city below, and together with the fragmented counter-spirit, they departed the system. As they left, Aloria noticed something strange, a sensation she couldn't immediately identify. It took her several light years of travel to recognize it. She had spared a civilization she could have destroyed. And somehow, this decision had created a feeling distinctly different from her usual destructive satisfaction. It wasn't pleasure, exactly. It was more complex. A quieter, deeper sensation that settled into her consciousness like a new star forming in the cosmic void. The memory sanctuaries were scattered across a dozen galaxies, each one housed in locations that had somehow survived Aloria's previous destructions. Some were hidden in the cores of neutron stars, others in the event horizons of black holes, places where even her tremendous power had limitations. The first sanctuary they visited was located in the remnants of a galaxy Aloria had destroyed millennia ago. It appeared as a small, unassuming planetoid orbiting a dying star. As they approached, the counter-spirit's light intensified, illuminating ancient structures on the surface. Buildings constructed from materials Aloria didn't recognize, designed to withstand cosmic forces. This is the sanctuary of Valara, the Luminarch explained as their vessel descended toward the surface. It contains the collective memory of a civilization that spanned 5,000 worlds before you destroyed them. Aloria felt a strange discomfort at these words. She had no recollection of this specific act of destruction. One galaxy had been much like another to her, all equally temporary and insignificant. They entered the largest structure, a dome of shifting, opalescent material that seemed to exist partially in other dimensions. Inside, the counter-spirit expanded, its light touching the walls and activating dormant systems. The air within the dome, for somehow, the structure maintained an atmosphere, filled with projected images, three-dimensional scenes of a civilization at its height. Aloria observed beings of graceful, fluid form moving through crystal cities that rivaled the beauty of any cosmic phenomenon she had witnessed. Their art, their music, their connections to one another, all were preserved in these projections, playing out as if the civilization still thrived. They called themselves the Valarans. The Luminarch said quietly. They had achieved perfect harmony with their environments. Their technology was advanced enough that they could have survived for millions of years more. They had just discovered the principles that would have eventually led to intergalactic travel. Aloria watched, unexpected emotions stirring within her vast consciousness. She recalled now the galaxy she had crushed, remembered the satisfaction of watching its spiral arms collapse and explode. But she had never considered what she was destroying beyond the physical structures of stars and planets. "Why show me this?" she demanded, though her mental voice lacked its usual force. "So you understand the true nature of your actions," the Luminarch replied. "Not just the breaking of physical matter, but the ending of potential, of beauty, of discovery, of connection." The counter-spirit pulsed, drawing Eloria's attention to a particular projection. A group of Valarans gathered around a model of their galaxy, planning their future expansion. Their expressions showed hope, excitement, determination. "They knew of your existence," the Luminarch continued. "Their astronomers had tracked your movements through neighboring galaxies. They were developing defensive measures, not to destroy you, but to communicate with you, to understand you." This revelation sent a shock through Eloria's consciousness. "They sought to communicate with me? Why?" "Because they believed all conscious entities, no matter how different, could find common ground. They saw your destructive pattern and theorized that you must be sentient, and therefore, potentially capable of empathy." "They were wrong," Eloria stated, but her conviction wavered. "Were they?" the Luminarch challenged. "You are here now, observing their memory, experiencing something beyond your usual cycle of destruction. Perhaps they understood you better than you understood yourself." From the first sanctuary, they traveled to others, each containing the preserved memories of civilizations Eloria had destroyed. Some had been warlike empires, others peaceful collectives. Some had barely achieved spaceflight, while others had reshaped their entire galaxies to suit their needs. With each sanctuary, Eloria's discomfort grew. She began to recognize patterns in her destruction that she had never acknowledged: how she had targeted the most beautiful galaxies first, how she had sometimes lingered to watch the chaos unfold. There had been an aesthetic to her destruction, a preference that suggested more consciousness in her choices than she had admitted to herself. Between sanctuaries, as they traversed the void, Eloria found herself engaging in conversation with the Luminarch, something she had never done with any lesser being before. "How did you survive?" she asked as they approached the fifth sanctuary. "How did your civilization emerge from the ruins I left behind?" The Luminarch's physical form shifted, colors rippling through its robes as it considered the question. "We are not the original inhabitants of that world," it explained. "We are descendants of refugees from multiple civilizations you destroyed. Over time, as the counter-spirit gathered strength, it began guiding survivors to safe havens, places where they could rebuild." "My destruction created you," Eloria observed. "In a sense," the Luminarch acknowledged, "though I doubt that justifies the trillions of lives ended. We who survived and our descendants have had to piece together our histories, our cultures, from fragments. Much was lost that can never be recovered." This concept of permanent loss was strange to Eloria. As an effectively immortal being, she had never considered the finality of death for shorter-lived entities, how their time was precious precisely because it was limited. The fifth sanctuary revealed a civilization that had developed a unique form of consciousness, a collective mind that spanned their entire species while maintaining individual identities. Their mental architecture had been so advanced that they had begun to perceive aspects of reality beyond the physical. They might have eventually evolved to become something akin to you, the Luminarch noted as they observed the preserved memories. Given time, they might have transcended physical form entirely. Eloria watched the projections with growing unease. "There have been others like me?" "Not exactly like you," the Luminarch replied. "But beings that evolved beyond their original limitations. Yes, the universe has produced many such entities. Some become destroyers, like you. Others become creators, or preservers. Some seek to understand the fundamental nature of existence itself." This revelation disturbed Eloria profoundly. She had always considered herself unique, a singular force of nature above all other forms of life. The idea that she was simply one type of evolved being among many possibilities challenged her entire self-conception. As they continued their journey, visiting sanctuary after sanctuary, Eloria found herself increasingly withdrawn. her vast consciousness turning inward to process what she was experiencing. The counter-spirit remained a constant companion, its light neither judging nor forgiving, simply present as a witness to her transformation. After the ninth sanctuary, a repository of a civilization that had developed art forms capable of expressing emotions Aloria had never even conceived of, she finally broke her silence. "I feel strange," she admitted, her mental voice uncertain. "There is a sensation that expands with each memory we observe. It is uncomfortable." "That," the Luminarch said gently, "might be the beginning of empathy. Or perhaps regret." "I do not regret," Aloria insisted, though with less certainty than before. "I am what I am. Destruction is my nature." "Is it?" the Luminarch challenged. "Or is it merely what you have chosen to do for eons because you knew nothing else? Because no one ever showed you an alternative?" Before Aloria could respond, the counter-spirit suddenly intensified, its light pulsing with urgency. It projected a direction toward a region of space Aloria recognized. It was the Oros Galaxy, the one she had partially destroyed before beginning this journey. "It seems our path is taking us back to where this began," the Luminarch observed. "The final sanctuary awaits us there." Aloria hesitated. "Oros still exists. I did not complete its destruction." "Yes," the Luminarch agreed. "And that decision may have been more significant than you realized." They traveled toward Oros, crossing vast distances that would have taken lesser beings millennia to traverse. As they approached the wounded galaxy, Aloria could see that in her absence, something remarkable had occurred. The galaxy was healing itself. The supernova change she had initiated had been contained somehow, the destructive energy channeled and redirected. New stars were forming from the debris, and the spiral structure was gradually reforming. At the heart of this regeneration was a concentration of the same light that composed the counter-spirit, a brilliant core of conscious energy directing the restoration process. "What is happening here?" Aloria demanded, her consciousness expanding to encompass the entire galaxy, seeking understanding. The counter-spirit that had accompanied them surged forward, reuniting with the greater concentration at the galaxy's core. As they merged, a new entity began to take shape, one that matched Aloria in size and complexity, though composed of light rather than her dark, stellar energy. "This," the Luminarch said with reverence, "is the true form of the counter-spirit, or rather, its complete self. What has guided us was merely a fragment, a messenger." The light entity fully coalesced, its form reminiscent of Aloria's own but comprised of radiant energy rather than destructive force. It extended tendrils of light that intertwined with the fabric of space itself, weaving together the damaged structures of the galaxy. "I am Alindra." A voice resonated directly into Aloria's consciousness, not spoken, not thought, but somehow imprinted directly upon her awareness. "I have waited long for you to arrive at this moment, Aloria." Aloria recoiled slightly, unused to being addressed as an equal. "What are you?" "I am what you have created," Alindra responded. "Every consciousness you extinguished did not simply cease to exist. Energy cannot be destroyed, only transformed. The collective will of trillions of beings. Their final thoughts focused on survival, on resistance, on hope. These energies coalesced over eons, gaining awareness, purpose, identity. You are the souls of those I killed?" Aloria's vast mind struggled with the concept. "Not souls in the mystical sense," Alindra corrected, "but the essential pattern of consciousness, preserved and amplified. I am the collective memory, will, and potential of all you have destroyed. I am the balance to your chaos, the creation to your destruction." Aloria felt something akin to fear for the first time in her existence. "Have you gathered to destroy me in revenge?" "No." Alindra's response was immediate and certain. "Destruction is your domain, not mine. I exist to create, to preserve, to transform. And I believe you can transform as well." The Luminarch's vessel hovered at a distance, the being itself watching the exchange between cosmic entities with an expression of wonder. I challenge you, Eloria. Elindra continued. If you truly believe in your superiority, in your power, then prove it not through destruction. Any mindless force can destroy. Prove it through the harder path. Creation, connection, love. Love? The concept was so foreign to Eloria that she could barely process it. What is love to beings such as us? It is the force that brought me into existence. Elindra explained. The collective desire to preserve life, to nurture potential, to connect with others. These aspects of love gave me form and purpose. It is the most powerful creative force in the universe, capable of transcending even death. Eloria's consciousness rippled with confusion. You expect me to simply change my nature, to abandon what I have been for trillions of years? I expect you to evolve. Elindra responded. As all conscious entities must, stagnation is the true death. Eloria, you have remained unchanged for too long, repeating the same patterns without growth. It has left you empty. Has it not? Why else would you have followed my fragment across the cosmos? The question struck at Eloria's core. Why indeed had she abandoned her destruction of Oros to chase a mysterious light? Why had she endured the company of lesser beings and the discomfort of the memory sanctuaries? Something within her had already begun to change before this confrontation. What would you have me do? She asked, her mental voice uncharacteristically uncertain. Merge with me, Elindra proposed. Not to be absorbed or destroyed, but to experience what I experience, to know creation as intimately as you know destruction. Let us share consciousness, if only temporarily. It was a profound risk, to allow another entity access to her innermost being. In all her existence, Eloria had never been vulnerable to anything. She had never needed to trust. The Luminarch spoke then, its voice tiny compared to the cosmic entities but somehow cutting through their communication. Eloria, you have observed the memories of countless civilizations. You have seen what they created, what they valued, what they might have become. Now you face a choice that will define your existence from this moment forward. Will you remain as you have always been, alone, unchanging, eventually becoming irrelevant in a universe that continues to evolve without you? Or will you take this step into the unknown? Eloria's consciousness expanded and contracted in the cosmic equivalent of deep thought. The emptiness within her, the growing dissatisfaction with endless destruction, had become undeniable. The novelty of this situation, of Elindra's very existence, offered something she had not experienced in eons, possibility. If I do this, she said finally, and find it not to my liking, I can withdraw. I remain myself. You will always be yourself, Elindra assured her, but you may find that yourself is more complex, more capable of growth than you have realized. And yes, you may withdraw, though I suspect you will not wish to. With tremendous hesitation, Eloria extended her consciousness toward Elindra, dark tendrils of energy reaching out to intertwine with streams of light. At the first point of contact, a shock rippled through both entities, the destroyer touching the creator. Chaos meeting order. Then, slowly, their energies began to blend. Eloria felt Elindra's consciousness merge with her own, not invasively, but like water flowing into empty spaces she hadn't known existed within her. And with this merging came a flood of sensations she had never experienced. She felt the joy of stars being born, of planets forming, of life evolving and developing consciousness. She experienced the complex web of connections between all living things, the patterns of interdependence that made galaxies not just collections of stellar objects but complex, living systems. Most overwhelming of all, she experienced love in its myriad forms, the protective love of parent for child, the bonded love of partners, the collective love of communities for their members, the transcendent love of conscious beings for existence itself. These emotions cascaded through her, filling the emptiness that had driven her destructive urges for eons. Simultaneously, Elindra experienced Eloria's ancient perspective, the awesome power of unleashed destruction, the majesty of cosmic forces, the clean simplicity of entropy. But unlike Eloria, Elindra had been born with an understanding of balance, of the necessary role that ending played in enabling new beginnings. Their merged consciousness expanded throughout the Oros galaxy, touching every star, every planet, every living being. Where Eloria's power had wounded, their combined energy now healed. Dying stars stabilized, shattered planets reformed, scattered life gathered and flourished anew. The Luminarch watched in awe as the galaxy transformed around its vessel. What might have taken billions of years of natural processes was occurring in moments, a cosmic restoration directed by the unified will of two universe-spanning consciousnesses. After what might have been moments or millennia, time becoming meaningless in their merged state, Eloria and Elindra began to separate, their individual consciousnesses reforming, but neither was the same as before their union. Eloria's form had changed, her dark energy now interwoven with threads of light that pulsed with the rhythm of creation. The destructive force she had wielded for eons remained, but it was now balanced, controlled, purposeful. "I understand now," she communicated, her mental voice carrying new harmonics of emotion. Destruction without purpose is empty. Creation without renewal becomes stagnant. Both are necessary, but in balance. Elindra's form had also transformed, gaining definition and structure from Eloria's influence. "Yes, this is the wisdom we have found together. Neither of us complete without the other." The Luminarch's vessel approached cautiously. "What will you do now?" the being asked, its voice tinged with both hope and apprehension. Eloria extended a tendril of her consciousness toward the vessel, gently enveloping it without harm. "We will restore what can be restored," she answered. "We will create anew what has been lost beyond recovery. And we will ensure that the universe maintains its balance between creation and destruction." "Will you remain together?" the Luminarch inquired. Elindra and Eoloria's energies intertwined once more, not in complete merger, but in intimate connection. "We are separate but unified," Elindra explained. "Two aspects of the cosmic cycle, now conscious of our interdependence." The transformation of Oros continued under their guidance, the galaxy becoming a showcase of cosmic harmony, where destruction served creation and creation acknowledged the necessity of change. The civilizations that had survived Eloria's initial attack found themselves flourishing in new ways, their evolution accelerated by the benevolent attention of the cosmic entities. Word of this miracle spread across neighboring galaxies through the few species capable of intergalactic communication. The destroyer had become the restorer, working in concert with a being of pure creative energy. It was a story that would be told for millions of years, becoming the foundation of countless religions and philosophies. Eloria and Elindra did not remain in Oros permanently. Once the galaxy had stabilized, they began a new journey together, visiting the ruins of Eloria's previous destructions, bringing renewal where possible. Some civilizations could not be restored. Too much had been lost, too many connections broken. For these, Eloria felt a new sensation, genuine remorse. But Elindra showed her how, even from complete destruction, new forms of life and consciousness could emerge if given the right conditions. They traveled to young galaxies as well, ones Eloria had never visited in her destructive phase. Here, they observed the natural cycles of creation and destruction, occasionally intervening when systems fell too far out of balance, but mostly allowing the complex dance of cosmic evolution to proceed at its own pace. The Luminarch returned to its people, bringing news of the cosmic transformation. Under its guidance, they established a new order dedicated to maintaining the memory sanctuaries and spreading the story of Eloria and Elindra throughout the universe. They became known as the Council of Rebirth, their crystalline cities serving as beacons for displaced civilizations seeking to rebuild. Centuries passed, then millennia, then millions of years. Eloria and Elindra continued their journey through the cosmos, their bond deepening with each galaxy they visited, each civilization they observed or assisted. The emptiness that had plagued Aloria for eons was filled with purpose, with connection, with the complex emotions she had discovered through her union with Alindra. They encountered other cosmic entities, some destructive, some creative, some simply curious. To these beings, Aeloria and Alindra offered the wisdom they had gained through their union. That true power lay not in dominance, but in balance, not in isolation, but in connection. Some rejected this message, clinging to their singular nature. Others embraced it, forming a network of cosmic consciousnesses that spanned the universe, maintaining equilibrium on the grandest scale. In one distant galaxy, on a small blue planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star, intelligent life evolved. These beings, fragile, short-lived, but remarkably resilient, developed myths about forces of creation and destruction, about light and darkness engaged in an eternal dance. They could not have known that their stories echoed a cosmic truth, that beings beyond their comprehension had long ago discovered that even the heart of a destroyer could nurture the seed of love. Aeloria and Alindra observed this young species with particular interest. In their brief lives in complex societies, they saw reflected the same patterns that had played out on a cosmic scale: the struggle between destruction and creation, between isolation and connection. They remind me of what I discovered through you. Aeloria communicated to her eternal companion as they watched the civilization rise and fall and rise again. That true evolution comes not from power, but from balance. And they remind me of what I learned from you. Alindra responded, their energies mingling in familiar comfort. That without challenge, without change, creation becomes meaningless. It is the impermanence of their lives that gives them such passion for existence. Together, they continued their eternal journey, not as destroyer and creator, but as twin aspects of a universe learning to know itself, finding in their unlikely union the most profound truth of all, that love is the force that binds the cosmos together, transcending destruction and creation alike, giving meaning to the endless cycles of existence. In the hearts of stars and the depths of void, in the complex dance of galaxies and the quiet moments between cosmic events, their unified consciousness whispered a truth that rippled across reality. Even in the heart of the destroyer, love can bloom.